Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at the values of the trig functions, finding the trig value. So if we want to find sine of theta, cosine theta, or tangent of theta, and we know theta, then we just have to plug it into our calculators. So for instance, find sine of 40 degrees to 3 decimals. In your calculator, make sure you're in degree mode, not radian mode. And then depending on your calculator, you're either going to hit the sine button and then 40 degrees, or 40 and then sine. So play around with your calculator. You might have the backwards type where you put the angle in and then the sine function, or you might have the forwards one where you put sine and then the 40. So you should be getting 0.643. Remember that sine of theta has to be between -1 and 1, so that if you're getting something bigger than 1, something happened. How about cosine of 85 degrees? So again, we just have to plug in either cosine and then 85, or 85 and then cosine, and you should be getting 0.087. So if you've tried it and you didn't get 0.643 or 0.087, you're probably in radian mode, so check the mode that your calculator is in and make sure that it's in degrees. So how about tangent of 63 degrees? So tangent, remember, is the same thing as the slope of the terminal side of our angle, and that can be anything from -infinity to infinity. So for 63 degrees, it's 1.963. And then let's do sine of 30 degrees. And if we plug that into our calculator, we should get exactly 0.5. So to 3 decimals, it's 0.500. The trickier ones are when we want trig values of secant, cosecant, and cotangent. Those are not on your calculator, and that's because they're just reciprocals of cosine, sine, and tangent, so they're not going to bother making the calculator bigger to have those 3 more buttons when they're just reciprocals. So if I want to find something like secant of 60 degrees, I'm going to remember that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So I'm going to find 1 divided by cosine of 60 degrees. So remember, I am putting in cosine of an angle. The angle is degrees. And then I'm taking the reciprocal. I am not doing cosine of 1 over 60 degrees. Because 1 over 60 degrees is not an angle. It's not anything. So I cannot plug that into cosine. So if I do 1 divided by cosine of 60, I get 2. And again, if you have that backwards calculator, you'll have to hit 60, then cosine, and then the reciprocal button. The reciprocal button looks like either x to the -1 or 1 over x. If you have the forwards calculator, you can just do 1 divided by cosine of 60. If we want cosecant of 15 degrees, we're going to use the fact that cosecant is 1 over sine. So cosecant and sine are reciprocals. So again, it's 1 over sine of 15 degrees, not sine of 1 over 15 degrees. You will never, ever, ever, ever do 1 over an angle. Because again, 1 over degrees doesn't make any sense. That's not a thing. So it's 1 over the trig function. If I plug that into my calculator, I should get 3.864. So we'll do a couple more. We've got cotangent of 40 degrees. So again, cotangent, the reciprocal of tangent. So we have 1 over tangent of 40 degrees. And that should be 1.192. So pausing there for a second, remember that secant, move that back there. Remember that secant and cosecant have to be at least 1. So I'm getting 2 and 3.864, so that makes sense. They're bigger than 1, or they're at least 1. Again, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, and if tangent can be anything, then so can cotangent. How about finding secant of 80 degrees? So again, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So we have 1 over cosine of 80 degrees. Plugging that into my calculator, I'm getting something, again, at least 1. It's 5.759. So let's do some more just to make sure that we're really aware of finding, again, those secant, cosecant, cotangent, the ones that are not directly in the calculator. So let's find cosecant of 55 degrees. Cosecant's the reciprocal of sine, so 1 over sine of 55 degrees. And you should be getting 1.221. Find cotangent of 65 degrees. So again, cotangent's the reciprocal of tangent, so 1 over tangent of 65 degrees. And we get 0.466. Secant of 0 degrees is 1 over cosine of 0 degrees, which is 1. And again, to 3 decimals, that's 1.000. And then lastly, cosecant of 5 degrees. Again, reciprocal of cosecant is sine. So cosecant of 5 degrees is 1 over sine of 5 degrees. Again, something bigger than 1, or at least 1, so 11.474. Okay, so just try to remember, again, it's 1 over the trig function, not the trig function of 1 over an angle. And to make sure you did it correctly, remember cosecant and secant have to be at least 1. So if I did by accident do, say, sine of 1 over 5, that would give me something smaller than 1, or something 1 or smaller, which I go back and say, well, that can't be possible for cosecant because I know it has to be at least 1. So that should be a big sign. If you are getting something smaller than 1, you probably did something like this, which again, you can't do because you cannot do sine of 1 over an angle, right? It has to be sine of an angle. So just keep that in mind, try out the homework, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.